Welcome to the Bolt Podcast. I'm Todd Burge, keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and mental fitness coach. I'm here to help you unlock your leadership potential and ignite your personal growth. On the Bolt, my guests and I will dive into inspiring stories of transformation, showing how small mindset shifts can lead to life-changing benefits. We'll explore strategies for overcoming challenges, building high-performance habits, and leading with confidence. If you're ready to embrace a growth mindset and unlock your full potential, then let's ignite your spark today. Today's guest is Dave Loomis, founder and president of Loomis Marketing, and a true leader in customer insight and innovation. A Northwestern and Kellogg graduate, Dave has advised Fortune 500 companies and conducted over 10,000 customer interviews throughout his career. He's the author of Marketing is Everything We Do and his newest book, Customer Outsight, which teaches leaders how to truly understand and serve their customers. Dave's work centers on empathy, servant leadership, and using insight to drive meaningful growth. Dave, welcome to the Bolt Podcast, my friend.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk with you today. We've known each other for a little bit now.
Yep.
Have some things in common, which I think we'll get into today. Wow, very impressive bio. Man, it's funny when you know somebody and then you have them on the show and you read through like the whole journey, and some people just send a paragraph, some send their whole life story. Right. But I love it because that's one of my favorite things about podcasting and just life in general is learning about people and their stories and their journeys. But very, very impressive. Northwestern, Kellogg School, one of the top business schools for marketing, taught at Case Western, Frank Lloyd Wright fan, which we've talked about. I don't know if you saw the picture out there as you walked in.
No.
Falling Water, one of my favorite. I think you saw it before when you were here.
It is one of my favorite structures on Earth, for sure.
It is.
For sure. You know, it's interesting. I love hearing about people's trajectory also, their path, which is usually very circuitous when you look back at it. I think there's sort of a myth, especially for people younger and earlier in their career, but even people later in their career who think that, it's a straight line and that you have to have this specific path laid out, and it goes from here to here to here to here, and that you plan it out, and if you don't make one of those jumps that you think you're going to make, that, well, there's something wrong with that, or you've failed somehow, or you haven't accomplished what you set out to do. But when you look back at like the most successful people, it's a zigzag. It's a zigzag. Sometimes it's all over the place, and when you deconstruct it, you realize, and if you talk to them about it, and it's the same way with me, there's no way that I could have been as successful in whatever that next step was if I hadn't gone through that previous step, whatever it is. But it's still unpredictable. I mean, I'll throw out just one crazy example in my career, which doesn't make it onto my, sort of CV. It doesn't pop out. But for 2 years in the 90s, when I had two, babies in the house, I quit my consulting job, and for lots of circumstances, I went to work for my father-in-law in Chicago. But his business was not exactly what most Kellogg grads think about going into. It was a funeral home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. See your reaction. And I may be the only Kellogg grad ever to work at a funeral home after getting my MBA there.
Wow.
And it was just, but here's the thing. So I learned about small businesses. Most of all, I learned about customer service and the fact that to really succeed, don't think so much about your job description. Think about caring more, and think about how can you help somebody with whatever their challenge is in the moment. And I've incorporated that in my work. After that, It informed both of the books that I've written. But, I certainly did not set out to work at a funeral home.
Right.
So anybody out there, if you think of like sort of a detour or something that might interest you, go for it.
Right.
Go for it. I'm a big believer in, there was a great book. It's an older book called Built to Last. And, and so there's something called the hedgehog in there, which is like, think about what
Jim Collins.
You're passionate about. Jim Collins. Think about what you're passionate about, what you're best at, and what drives your economic engine. So things that you can make money at, that you love doing, and that you're really good at. Because everybody's unique. Everybody has something that's special about them.
Right.
That they're really good at.
Interesting. That sounds a little bit like appreciative inquiry. No?
That is true. It does. It does. If people don't know about appreciative inquiry, it was developed out of Case Western by David Cooperrider, and it's it's known around the world now as a method to sort of talk about and uncover sort of positive aspects as opposed to sort of negative aspects of whatever a situation is. It's been applied to cities, regions, businesses, people, and you look for high point experiences, and then you think about it. It's illuminating when you can think about, well, what, look back and what are situations that really energized you, and then it's not really all that complicated. Do more of that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
I love the approach, and it ties in nicely with kind of the theme of this show is becoming the best version of yourself, and all about positivity, obviously, with my background in positive intelligence, focusing on your strengths and not your weaknesses.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I love it. Well, this is great, Dave. Lots that we can talk about. Let's talk about leadership and personal growth a little bit, because I know I don't know, I'd call you a personal growth junkie. I am. And I think that was the first thing that you and I had in common, and how we met each other was through, we both have the same high performance coach.
That's true. Yep.
Christine Hockman with 1 Degree Shifts. So how long have you been working with an executive coach?
Well, I think speaking of junkies, I think Christine would be, now she'll listen to this and hear, but so she saw me speak one time about, I was talking about product innovation at a group that we both belonged to at the time, or I was a guest speaker at. So this might have been in 2017 or something like that ish, 2018. So 7-8 years ago, and Christine was not in coaching yet, so she's but soon to be. And afterwards she came up to me, and maybe she had an inkling that about sometimes you have a feeling about somebody, that they're part of your future somehow.
Right.
And we hit it off right away. We got together. We became friends. She became certified, and I may have been one of her very first people that she coached.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was more than happy to support her in her journey to do that. But, I mean, I got a lot out of it. And I tell people that she was, I wrote my first book, obviously. I was the author, but she was integrally responsible for me being able to do it, because she asked a lot of good questions and challenged me to, sort of get off the line and, kind of put in some habits that allowed me to complete it, because it had been an idea for a long time, and it would be something I was putting off, procrastinating, and just said, well, sort of a typical exchange with her, as is well, what do you really want to do? Well, gosh, I'm really trying to write this book. Oh, okay. You noticed you said the word try there. Are you writing the book? Or are you just trying to write the book?
Right.
But she says, why aren't you? Well, I don't have enough time. I'm doing this and this and this and this. Well, how can you make more time?
Right.
Well, I don't know. Well, let's think about how you can make more time. Could you get up an hour earlier every day? I'll bet you couldn't do that. I'm a very competitive person with myself, actually. And so that's what she said. I think I can do that. I can get up an hour earlier, and part of it was like I wasn't going to be embarrassed and get on the phone with her or the Zoom, a few weeks later and have her say, so did you do it? And no, I couldn't do it.
Right.
No, I did it. I did it. And she's like, well, what else? Do you have the outline? Well, no, I don't. That's a good idea. Okay, well, small steps can make a big difference. Just what's the next step?
Right.
What's the next step?
Yep.
How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. That's right.
And so to answer your question, I think it's probably been 6 years, something like that. And the most successful 6 years of my life, probably, because of that.
Right. And I wanted to talk about it because I don't think a lot of people understand what an executive coach, business coach, life coach, right? They're all a little bit different, but at the core, I think there are some similarities. And I think it's really, honestly, just having someone to get off your island with and talk to. And I used Christine, I say use, she taught me a lot of things, went through her high performance coaching and positive intelligence. But she was my accountability person, right? I think we all need that accountability person, right? And we need someone to be able to talk to about really anything or to just vent to. And it's not our partner and spouse, right? And they're great. And especially for an entrepreneur, they've heard all the stories. They'll listen, they'll be accommodating, but they really don't want to hear.
No, they don't want to be your accountability
just
partner
have somebody
either.
So
they play other roles.
I highly recommend. I wish, Dave, that every company, I think, is part of like employee benefits, wellness program, everyone had access to a coach.
Boy, that would be amazing.
Right? That was just the default. As we go through high school, we have a guidance counselor. As we go through college,
right,
we have something similar. And then we just drop off. And then we're on our own, man. Got to figure it out.
Exactly. So maybe you talk to a friend, or what have you. But it's not the same. It's different.
It's different. So that's why I wanted to talk about and I love, you just confirmed your most successful time of your life was when you had this coach. And you continue to have Christine as your coach.
Yes.
And yes, Christine's a wonderful coach, right? She's amazing. Highly recommend her. But there are, I'm just saying a coach in general, consider it. And I know not everybody can afford it. It can be quite expensive. But again, if we could kind of change, I know you're a big fan and you talk a lot about culture within organizations and how important they are for serving the people and clients. Well, take care of your people, right? If your people are healthy and happy, they're going to be
absolutely
better at what they do, right? They're going to be more bought into whatever that mission is, whatever that vision is. So anyhow, I didn't want to go too deep, but I just wanted to mention that because one, was our first connection.
True.
Having the same coach, but also just how important it is to have a coach. So I assume you would recommend it.
Oh my
right?
gosh, yes. Highly recommend. Yes. Dedicate yourself to helping someone do something more effectively and adding value. And so to me, that's the mindset shift that is that I'm advocating for behind my new book, Customer Outsight. And just to kind of bring that in, there's a lot of people that are interviewing their customers. They're actually still interviewing their customers because they've heard that it's a really good idea to be customer focused. You can make a lot more money if you're customer focused.
Right.
But they're still doing it for their own sort of selfish reason. How about interview your customers so that you can understand how to serve them better? How about that? I have this little analogy of a spyglass, and I actually have found a little spyglass that I give away as well. And, a lot of people use sort of a spyglass to like, oh, let me take a closer look at my customer, and I'm going to figure out how to sell them more.
Right.
My point is, take that spyglass, turn it around, hand it over to your customer, have them look through it, and then ask them questions about what they see in their world. How's your business? What challenges are you having? How can I help you? And, open-ended questions that you don't know the answer to.
Right.
Until you actually listen and ask follow-up questions and learn something. And then you think, okay, if I do this, this, and this, I can add more value, and then they'll pay me for it, true. But they'll become successful. They'll spread the word. I'll become successful as a result. Maybe I make the same or even more money and more successful.
Right.
But it's the whole motivation of it is completely flipped. To me, that's servant leadership.
We'll be right back after this short message. Hey, it's Todd again. Did you know that mental fitness is the secret weapon for transformational leadership? Your mind may be sabotaging you, leading you down a path of stress and negativity, but it doesn't have to be this way. If you're ready to unlock the resilience to empower yourself and the team you lead, listen up. Through the Positive Intelligence Program, PQ for short, I help leaders build mental strength, manage stress, and increase emotional intelligence. Imagine reducing burnout, improving your relationships, and increasing performance, all backed by neuroscience. Look, I'm living proof of its power, having rewired my brain after building my mental fitness with PQ over the last 5 years. Are you ready to build yours? Visit toddbirch.com for more information, and let's get a free consultation scheduled today. Now back to the show. This is a great segue, Dave, into talking more about your book, Customer Outsight.
Yes.
Just launched, right?
Just launched a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you
That's
very
awesome.
much. Thank you.
It was second book.
Second book. The first one, we were talking about Christine. After she challenged me, and I took up the challenge. I'm not kidding. It took me about 6 weeks to write the book, and then I
6 weeks.
Yeah. It was all in my head and in notes and other things. And once I got the outline and I got the discipline to sit down and make time to write it, it basically just came right out of me. That was the first one. The second one took 2 years.
Oh, okay. I was getting excited because, as I told you, I'm getting ready. I started writing my book, and
Yes,
I'm thinking,
I can't wait.
Wow, 6 weeks? Maybe I could do that.
Well, might.
I thought maybe it was going to be more of a year-long process.
You might. You might. It just depends.
Okay.
This one took 2 weeks, and 2 years. Customer Outsight, and like 2 years ago, I actually went to an attorney and I trademarked the term Customer Outsight.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, I've got this down. I'm going to, I've got the outline. I've got this diagram that I got designed up that talks about the 4 steps of this process. 6 weeks, I'll have this done. 2 years later, it was a little bit of a slog. There was a lot more work than I thought it would be, and I actually had to do more research than I thought I would have to really understand what I was talking about.
Right.
And to come up with good examples for it. And there's something like 21 different charts in it that you can download from the website. If you're interested, it's at customeroutsight.com. customeroutsight.com.
Okay, and we'll include that
And
in the show notes.
you can actually download all these charts,
Okay.
and you can download the whole introduction
Nice.
and see if you like the book. And the introduction really kind of sums it all up.
Yeah.
It's a little bit about kind of what I was talking about before, is seeing things from the customer's perspective.
Right.
But the book itself, I mean, that's the overall message.
Mm-hmm.
But the book itself is more or less a how-to manual for how to interview customers based on all the experience that I have. I've done it. I've learned the hard way.
Yeah. How many years, Dave, have you been collecting? That's a lot of interviews.
It is a lot of
10,000.
interviews. I
Lots
think
of
I probably went back to as far as maybe the mid '90s, early '90s is when I maybe started doing customer interviews.
Okay.
And
Now, are you doing
them?
Are you physically doing all these?
Yes,
Wow.
I've done them all.
Wow.
I've done over 10.
To me, that's exciting.
Well,
That's super exciting. All the people you've met, all the conversations you've had.
Yeah, I talk about
the good, bad, and the
what
ugly.
I just said, doing something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And I really do like talking to people, and I actually am curious about other people. You have to act. You can't fake it. Mm-hmm. I mean, let me back up.
Well,
you can fake it, and a lot of people do.
Yeah, you won't get the truth. You won't get the outside that you're looking for.
But if you're talking to somebody and they really know that you're interested in them, then it shows. It just comes across. Mm-hmm. And you're authentic, and they open up, and they share things with you.
Right.
And I'm not saying be interested and be authentic to trick people into telling you things that that you can use. That's not the point. If you think that's what it is, you're missing the point.
Right.
But that is the way it works.
Right.
Really.
And you're talking about taking it to a whole nother level, not just some survey monkey survey that we're going to put you in a pool to win an iPad or a $50 Amazon gift card, right? Take 5-10 minutes of your time. You're talking about literally having a call with a customer.
Yeah, and let me say something that I think is really important. There are so many ways to get customer input right now. And you will never hear me dissing any of those methods. I will never tell you, don't do a survey monkey, don't do net promoter score, which if you are listening and someone's ever asked you, how likely are you to recommend X, on a scale of 1 to 10, that's net promoter score, and people are doing it and doing a calculation. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. The other thing is that I'll talk to companies that say, well, our sales force is out there all the time. They're talking to customers. That's good. That's our quote-unquote voice of customer program. I'm not going to tell you not to do that either. But I will say that that really none of those things in isolation or even in combination are going to get you the true voice of the customer the way I talk about it in Customer Outsight, because that can really only be accomplished with a human-to-human open-ended conversation, which is purposeful in the way that I mean purposeful in, hey, we're going to have a conversation that doesn't have an agenda. I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Right.
We're not trying to solve the problem here. I'm really just trying to talk to you and ask you some questions about what you're up to. How's your company doing? What's your strategy? Do you have any strategic initiatives going on right now? What are you trying to do?
Right.
You and I even had a conversation before we started recording where I asked you a couple questions, and you told me a few things that maybe, and I already thought of somebody to introduce you to.
Well, that's the go giver, right? Right. Right.
That's how it works.
How can you?
If I hadn't asked that question, if
Right.
you hadn't shared that information, that connection would never have been made.
Right.
So I'm a real advocate for adding to your mix of things, however you get it done. Read my book, learn how to do it yourself, hire someone to do it, train someone internally to do it if you're, but reach out and just have casual conversations with customers.
Right. Now, I'm curious, how do you get people? Because I would imagine even with those surveys, right? I don't know what the percentage is. I would imagine it's very small, the amount of people that actually take the time, even when they say it's only 5 minutes. It's never just 5 minutes, by the way.
No, it's not.
But how do you get people? So you say there's no incentive. So how do you get them to take some time? How much time are they giving you? Is it 30 minutes, 60 minutes?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
are you coming in white labeled? Or are you coming in as Dave Loomis, or are you coming in as somebody as part of their company? Because I would imagine the way you come into that conversation could set the tone for the types of questions and feedback outside that you're going to get, right?
Yep, absolutely. I'll tell you the most typical scenario,
Okay.
and it's changed over time because people have less time than they have had in the past. Although the fact that we have Zoom now and Teams and all that is actually helpful.
That changed the game, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be in person, which meant traveling, and that was expensive and even more time consuming.
Right.
Or it was over the phone, in which case sometimes, I've learned to, I'm very good at hearing someone's voice and sensing certain things, but seeing them and seeing their background and their surroundings is actually really helpful.
Right. You can learn a lot by.
You can learn a lot about her. It's conversation starters and things like that.
And just seeing somebody.
Yeah, just seeing them.
An old school phone call where
and you don't see their whole body, but body language, face
emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it used to be when I first started doing this, you could actually get an hour of someone's time, and I still once in a while one of my interviews will go that long. These days, it's probably about a half an hour, and I think that's like a lot of sort of Teams and Zoom meetings and even internal meetings at companies. There's just sort of this shift so that things are done in half-hour increments a lot more often now, and so that's pretty typical. Hey, I've got a hard stop at top of the hour or bottom of the hour. It's like, okay, well, perfect. So here's the most typical scenario. A client or company hires me to do some customer interviews. Maybe it's only 10, 20, or 30 interviews at the max. A lot of times it's maybe just 10 or 20, somewhere in that range. A lot of times I'll interview internal personnel first as sort of a baseline. Some people might say, oh, don't do that. It creates bias. It creates... To me, I think it makes you smarter about what to expect, about the situation, about what internal perceptions are, and then you can go out and contrast those with what the customer is saying. So it's invaluable to me. I would highly recommend starting that way. In most cases, my clients will introduce me as a consultant that they've hired to do this sort of customer or voice of customer process. And in most cases, they will make a warm introduction because if you got 10, 20 of customers that you think would talk to you, and in some cases it may be prospects that you're calling on, but a lot of times it's customers. Sometimes it's a newer customer. Sometimes it's one that's been around for a long time of whatever the company is. They might send an email introducing me and saying, hey, Dave will be in touch with you directly to schedule the interview, and then I'll schedule it. There's a couple clients that I have that prefer that I just reach out. And that's getting harder and harder because I think a lot of companies are scared, rightfully so, of responding to things that they don't know, or clicking on things, or anything like that. So they don't want to be scammed, or get a virus or something like that. So it helps to get a warm introduction, and then I'll set the interview up myself on my own, and then I'll, at the allotted time, whenever it is on our schedules, I'll get together with them, and so they'll know that I am not technically part of my client's company, that I've been hired, this is what I do. But I also know enough about that client's company, so I'm not coming off as someone completely sort of, clueless on whatever industry it is. I have clients that, are roofing consultants and architects, and I told you earlier, we've metal studs, used for building, and, you name it, industrial products, professional services, mostly B2B, probably not potato chips or things that you would buy, and consume in a grocery store, things like that, but everything else, pretty much fair game. And they go about a half an hour. And, I map this out in the book in a lot of detail about the importance of planning that out. Who are you going to be talking to, and why? What's your objective of of what you want to learn, and then once you get the person on the line, making a connection with them, and it can be as easy as, so, where are you located? Oh, you're in Utah. Oh, I guess there's good skiing out there. Oh yeah. Oh, you've been skiing for a long time. You've skied there. Oh, wow. That's amazing. I mean, it's unpredictable. You could see, like a moose head in the background, and you say, wow, that's an incredible moose head. They put it in their background for some reason, or it happens to be there. It's part of their life. Right. Or a bicycle hanging from the ceiling, one of my clients has. So you do a lot of biking? Oh my gosh, anytime I do. So you're just connecting with them like you would connect with anybody that you're meeting and that you want to be a friend with. And
but that's a skill and a craft, I think. I don't think anybody can do that, right? It's definitely it's being authentic, but I feel like there is some strategy there, right? Because there is a goal to get the most out of that person as possible during that conversation, right?
Well, let's see. One of my favorite books is called Sacred Hoops. It was written by Phil Jackson, who coached the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was there. And one of the things that he said was, practice, practice, practice. And then in the game, don't think. And the reason why I just, you react. Use your training, but there's no time to think. And so when you just said, oh, well, talking to them about this or that to form that connection is a strategy so that they open up. In theory, that's true. In the moment, if I had to think too much about it, then it would definitely backfire and it would sound awkward, and it would come off as, oh, this guy's trying to engage me in conversation so that I'll tell him some stuff, You have to actually just really care. Like, oh, you're wearing a Missouri shirt, Wow. So did you go there? It just, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's talk about the 4 F's a little bit, just kind of a high level Fix, focus, find, and fuel. I love that last one, fuel.
Yes,
So
exactly.
take us briefly through, and these are the
So
core.
So if you take a look at the website or you get the book, you'll see a chart that I have. That's a graphical chart that goes basically clockwise in a circle around a center, and that's what you're referring to the 4 F's as: fix, focus, find, and fuel. And these are, if it's sort of like a how-to manual, these are sections of that manual, and there's 3 chapters in each of those that go into those. And essentially what those stand for, fix is not fixing something that's broken. Fix is as in fixing your sights. If, like my spyglass example, if you fix your sights on the horizon. So that it's about planning.
Fixating.
That's fix.
Okay.
So fix your objective. And so the first part is just preparation. It's planning. So it's why are you doing this? Why are you talking to your customers? Who are you going to talk to? And in general, what are you going to plan to talk about? And then I actually have a whole section on like the logistics of setting up your. I mean, it's like, how do you actually write the email to introduce yourself? How do you, what do you say?
Right. There's a whole process.
Yeah, I mean, it's learned it the hard way. But I have, the formula for success now. So once you get that set up, then you conduct the interview, and that's what this second F, focus, is about. And to get into it, I mean, I actually will. I have lots of questions, like really, really good questions that you would ask, open-ended questions, and how to go about doing that. But actually, kind of just getting ready for that interview. If you think about like professional athletes and the kind of work that they do, maybe before a big game, I actually advocate doing that before you have a customer interview. And I do it before I have an interview. And our coach, Christine, who we talked about earlier, she does that before she coaches. I know, because we've talked about it. You get yourself in the right mindset.
Yeah.
And I even came up with another term, heart set, which is, we talk a lot about mindset, like just thinking about using our brain, or sort of making sure that it's in the right place, but we have to have our heart in the right place too. And that's part of going into a conversation, which is like, you know what, I am going to pay attention to this person, and I am going to listen in this conversation. Like, I am actually like a mini meditation before I get on the phone, and I remind myself, just like an athlete would be, before a big game. I actually say, I close my eyes, take some deep breaths, and I think about, I'm going to care about this person and what they have to say. I'm going to listen to what they say. And it's one of the most important things that I can stress about this whole process is just listening. We don't listen to each other enough anymore in this world.
Right.
We do a lot of talking.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Yeah. Everybody wants to be the one with the idea, right?
Yeah, and we're so used to just like reacting and telling stories about ourselves and things like that, and if you really go in with the mindset that you're going to listen and you care about it, and you care less about yourself, you can learn how to approach that. I give this example of just a simple example, and anybody that's listening, you can do this, but ask somebody about their recent vacation. It's just an example. And they'll say, oh, I went to Florida. Now, this whole thing can diverge, right? There's a couple paths that this can go down. If you're not a good listener, you've asked an open-ended question, where'd you go? That's a great start. Oh, I went to Florida. Well, a lot of people would say, oh, wow, I love Florida. I always go down to Sanibel Island, and, it's great, except that hurricane that went through there a few years ago. This one time I was in Sanibel, they have the incredible shells. It's an amazing beach to walk on. What do you... Okay, right. Well, you just used your question as a starter for you to share something of your own. But here's the trick. Make sure whatever your next question is based on something that you just heard someone else say. Completely unpredictable. Because you don't know what they're going to say next.
Right. It's almost
Where'd you go to Florida?
Improv. Right.
I went to Orlando. Oh, what did you do in Orlando? Not, oh, I suppose you went to Disney World.
Right.
That's leading the witness.
Right.
So what'd you do in Orlando? Oh, we went to Universal Studios. Oh, really? I've never been there. How was that? Oh, it was really amazing. We went on this Harry Potter ride. Oh, what were the Harry Potter rides like? Oh, well, there was one in this, and then there was the thing where you go into the bookstore with the wand. And really? What? Wait, they give you a wand? Or, oh, yeah, there's this, and the people dressed up. And it's like, wow, that's a totally different conversation. And it's letting that person tell you about their experience.
Right.
And you're just asking them question after question after question.
Right. Yeah.
About them.
Right. And people love talking about themselves.
They really do. That book about how to influence, how to win friends and influence people, which
Carl.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's a great book. Yeah.
It's a great book. It's a classic.
Yep.
Things really don't change. People really just repackage sort of truisms throughout
it's never,
history.
Yep.
And he tells this story about how basically someone came up to him after a speech, and then he agreed to, meet with them, and he talked to them and basically just asked a bunch of questions and barely said a word for an hour. And then that person later described him as one of the most interesting people they'd ever met. And it was like, he said, how is that so? I barely said a thing. They did all the talking.
Right.
Now, what they really meant was he was the most interested person they've ever met. That's how you want to be described.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I've heard that before. That's a great way to approach.
So we got fix, we got focus. So you plan for the interview. You've got you conduct the interview. Then you have to analyze the results.
Right.
And so in that step, that's find. And I the holy grail that I say you look for are gemstones. What are gemstones? Gemstones are pieces of information that are not obvious. You have to dig for them. And it's pretty sure your competitors wouldn't have this information. So if you get, let's say, a customer, it doesn't matter what you're selling. In fact, it's probably more interesting to pursue a few avenues that are not obvious, like asking a company, do they have any strategic initiatives going on right now? Does that directly or indirectly influence, whatever you sell to them, a product or service? Maybe, maybe not. But just knowing that information, and what is that strategic initiative? Well, the strategic initiative is to, we're supposed to hit an operating profit target of, 10% operating profit. Oh, how do you calculate that? Just out of curiosity. Well, we do this, we do this, we do this. Well, you go back, you tell your client or you tell the sales force that you learned this piece of information. The next time they present, they say, I know this is, a little more expensive than what you have paid before for this item, but it doesn't have to be replaced in the future. So the total cost of ownership is low, and that's actually going to help your operating profit. I think you have an operating profit target of 10%, if I'm not mistaken. Wow, you're right. I can use this as evidence to, I'm going to buy this. You just made an argument that it was almost impossible for your competitor to make. And it's only because you were curious about this. I don't know if you've ever seen Ted Lasso, the show Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah.
So if anybody has ever watched Ted Lasso, there's a great scene in one of the episodes where he plays darts. Someone challenges him for to play darts. And of course, Ted Lasso is, he doesn't say whether he can play or not, but the assumption is, he's going to get his what kicked.
Right.
Well, he gets a bullseye every time, and the guy says, "Well, how did you do that? You didn't tell me." And that you could play darts, and he's like, "Well, you didn't ask me. You weren't curious. If you'd been curious, then you would have asked me, hey, have you ever played darts before? Hey, are you any good at darts? Hey, these sort of things." And so I think curiosity is very important. But the gemstones are what you're looking for. I go down into the weeds in this analysis section about how our brain works and how we find patterns and connections within data, how we can use AI to help us. So I'm not anti-AI. I'm very pro-AI.
Right.
And so use it. It's a tool. It's a tool that we should leverage. So the last F is fuel, which you like that term, but it's like, well, okay, you've gone through the process of planning these interviews, you conducted them, you analyzed them, presumably, hopefully you found a gemstone or two information. Now use it. How do you leverage and use the information that you have found, and to their advantage and to your advantage? But back to the servant leadership. First, how about using those gemstones to help them accomplish their goals more, help them succeed?
Right.
Then, why not use those gemstones in your marketing? You've got verbatim quotes of how that customer talks about whatever it is you sell and what they're buying from you in the words that they use.
Right.
Too much of our marketing is sort of, we want to get too clever with, slogans and things like taglines and things like that.
You are an old ad guy, and I say
know.
old like you,
I know.
Leo Burnett. Like you came from one of the top agencies in the world.
Exactly.
So
right.
that's to hear you say that.
Well, it's true.
It takes time, right, to learn that. I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. It's so much more effective to make sure that customers speak to them in their own language,
right? So
that they know that you understand them.
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yes.
I mean, really, it's right there. The information. We don't have to.
Exactly. Don't. Right. And I've got some great stories in there of the before and after about what companies sort of started with, and then after the customer interviews, what they changed their.
The pain point's right there.
Yeah.
They just told you, and then
they told you
and helped you find the solution.
Exactly.
Right? That's the story. Who doesn't?
Exactly.
Who doesn't love that? And then they used you, and it's testimonial, and it seems like.
So there's all sorts of fuel that you can get out of these customer interviews, and then it's in a circle, so it's a cycle. So go back, don't stop. Just sort of keep doing it.
Rinse, repeat.
Keep doing it. Yeah. And then you're building up. It's like a flywheel. You are building up momentum. You're building a relationship with your customer. It gets deeper.
Right.
You get better and better at what you are doing with them and talking to them about, and it's a cycle of success that you get into, and that's Customer Outsight.
Cycle of success.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. I love it. I can't wait to read it, Dave. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's one thing to write one book, let alone 2 books.
Next one's in the works.
And now, man, that spark has been lit.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So let's do a little lightning round here as we wrap up.
Sounds
here.
good.
So quick, easy.
Okay.
Who's a leader you admire and why?
Wow. That's a good one. Colin Powell comes to mind.
Okay.
If you've ever, now not everybody that's listening might be familiar with him, but he was a general in our armed services and became part into politics and so forth, and probably if he had decided he could have run for president and he might have won. Who knows? But he was a real leader, and he's got some leadership principles. You can look them up online, and I related to a lot of those. So that's just what popped into my mind when you said that.
Okay. Awesome. What's the most important lesson you've learned in life?
Well, I'm gonna go back to leadership, which you write about, and I think people would describe me now as a leader. I would describe myself as a leader. If I could do anything over, I would tell my younger self, it's never too early to be a leader. And I didn't understand that when I was young. I thought, I need more experience, or I just would let someone else step into that role. I learned over time. I did believe over time in the old saying, lead, follow, or get out of the way. And I still believe that that's true. But that doesn't mean that you should follow and get out of the way. As a younger person, or at any stage, step up. The world needs leaders, and not just the world. Your community, whatever organization it is. I mean, the soup kitchen down the street. It doesn't matter what it is, but there's always a vacuum or a void. Step into it. You be the leader.
Right.
No reason why you shouldn't be.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think anybody has the potential and opportunity to be a leader. You don't need a title. A title doesn't make you a leader. If you're a parent, you're a leader. If you're a coach of the kids' soccer team, you're a leader. Anybody has an opportunity to be a leader and step up.
Yeah.
Just be proactive, right? So, no, I love that. I agree with you. I was the same way as a youngster. Just, there's no way I got to have this many years experience and this title and this car and this right? But that's one of the beautiful things that comes with I'll say age, with years, wisdom,
Yes.
right? We
Yes.
become wiser. And we know that, and I never got to go back to how we started with the journey and the path, but I love that. And we've had a couple other guests on the show that have talked about their journey and how it's ebbed and flowed and took some turns. And it is important for youngsters to just find something that they really love, that they're passionate about, and a company that they feel like they can lean into. It's not only about the company interviewing them, but them interviewing the company, and just be happy, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Right. Life goes by. Next thing you know, you're like us, and we're talking about, we're saying youngsters.
Yeah. Hey,
right?
step up.
Right. It just goes by
Step
too
up.
quick. Just
Yeah, exactly.
enjoy it. And what Christine has taught me, our coach, embrace the journey. That's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in life. If someone asked me that, like, what's the most important lesson? It's embrace the journey. Because I was always a box checker, looking for the next thing. And she said, just slow down. If you don't enjoy the journey, embrace it, then what do you have?
Exactly.
And if you're writing a book, you better enjoy the journey or you're going to be miserable, right? I don't know. That's just, so anyhow, we could go there, but that's kind of got me reflecting a little bit and thinking about that. Dave, how would you define success for you? How do you define success?
Well, integrity is a word that just sort of popped into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I really do have this servant mentality. So I feel like we've been put on earth to play our role in helping others, based on whatever God-given gifts we have, to make a difference and to, not be a waste of space, basically.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And to bring some synergy into the world and make a difference. So, but I don't. The reason why integrity popped into my head is that when you're doing something that you either believe in and you feel is in a right direction, and that's obviously not illegal or breaking the law or doing something that you think isn't right, just even ethically, maybe something is nagging at you that you really should have stood up and said, I can't do this, or I shouldn't be doing this, or I should be working somewhere else, whatever, save yourself from a lifetime of frustration and lack of sleep and stomach aches and migraines and all that. And just do what's right. Just do what's right. Do what, have integrity at the end of your life, whenever that is. And that's the one thing that's guaranteed for all of us. Mm-hmm. We don't live forever.
Taxes and death.
Yeah, exactly. So, just strive for integrity and for service.
Nice. Well, Dave, thank you so much for being here. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Again, congratulations on the second book and now the third book. We'll have all the show notes, all the links in the show notes for everybody. And I can't wait to dig in and read it myself.
That sounds great. Can't wait for your book, too. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Bolt Podcast. I appreciate you spending some time with us today, and it's been a pleasure being part of your journey toward growth, transformation, and leadership. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and leave a review. It truly helps us reach more people like you. Interested in taking your leadership to the next level? Visit toddbirch.com to learn more about my keynote speaking, corporate training programs, and my positive intelligence coaching. Look, I'm here to help you build the mental resilience and leadership skills that drive lasting change. And remember, progress comes from small, consistent steps. Keep moving forward, my friends. And before we wrap, a quick reminder that the information shared on the Bolt Podcast, along with anything from toddbirch.com or all my social media channels, is for informational and educational purposes only. We all need support, and if you're seeking meaningful guidance, one of the best things you can do is talk to a licensed professional, whether that's a physician, therapist, or coach. Hey guys, take care of yourself, stay kind to your mind, and remember, help is always available when you need it. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.